All right, everybody. Um, Give me just a second here. My volume is a little bit louder than I would. There we go. All right. So I adjusted the audio for all of you guys, but for me it was still pretty loud in my headphones. It's like, man, it's gonna be hard to talk. I'm gonna feel like I'm yelling the entire time. Um, anyway, welcome to the stream. First of all, normally programming stream, not a gaming streamer. And in fact, I'm getting to the point now where, I play more strategy games and stuff like that. I'm just not, I don't have the reflexes that I used to for the faster games. But that's fine. Anyway, we're gonna take a look at what I think is one of the most amazing games for like programmers, and it's called Factorio. I've been playing it for a little while. Actually, let me take a look at my Steam. According to Steam, I have 355 hours in this game. So I guess a little while is a little bit of an understatement. But there's some things that I've never done before. So Mike was saying, Joshua Maroney made a video on how it was like observables. It is very much like observables. And we'll talk about some programming concepts here. The entire idea of the game is that you're this engineer that's crash landed on a planet, and the planet is hostile. I set this up because I wanted to test out this new version of CyberSyn, right? So CyberSyn 2. So I set this up to be peaceful. I typically don't enjoy the biters too much, but I was really looking forward to the enemies on two of the planets that we'll take a look at here shortly. Unfortunately, I learned that peaceful just makes those enemies worthless. So I didn't want to start over again because I'm fairly far. I want to make it to there are 2 planets left. There's Aquilo, which is a frozen planet, and it's so frozen that you have to heat everything or it just stops working. And then there's the Shattered planet, and those are the last 2 planets that I've got to go visit. But I've never been to any of the other planets before this game. I know enough to be dangerous, but I'm not going to claim to be amazing at this. There's some amazing YouTubers out there. I really like Avadi, and you'll see some of his ideas in what I've done. And then the other one is Neilhouse. Neilhouse has some really good Factorio content also. So if you guys are curious about that, you can go check them out on YouTube. Before we get in, if anybody's curious about mods, I use a few mods. These top ones are the base game itself. So the Elevated Rails, Quality, and Space Age are that. AII containers and warehouses, I'll show you guys what that is, but it basically gives you larger containers to use. This one I'm actually thinking about taking out. I haven't used a single one of the advanced ones. In earlier versions of Factorio, there was no way to get better solar panels and accumulators, and that led to like your solar spanning the entire planet. I didn't like that, so I downloaded this mod. I haven't used it because of changes with quality. This one just makes it so that when it's dark at night, you can see. I added this one as a suggestion from another YouTuber that I saw, so that nights aren't too dark. Auto deconstruct, I like that because it just gives me back my miners when they're done. This one I'm going to remove also. I don't like the way it works. It actually builds stuff under your cursor. This one's really cool. It paints the color of your train based on what they're carrying. And this paints the cars, or paints the station, this paints the cars. This is just, I don't like building balancers. They're huge. I don't know a lot about them. I haven't downloaded a book for it, so instead I use these balancers. They're nice. This one I'm probably going to get rid of too. It allows you to mess with the blueprints. We can take a look at blueprints. This one I really like. It allows me to adjust the inserters. It allows me to do some cheaty things. But you know what? Some of playing games is just having fun. Bottleneck lets me know when things aren't working. We can take a look what that one means. Builder bot start is very nice. The early game is a lot of manual stuff. This gives you 50 bots and allows them to help you build things. We'll see what that means here too. I added this one because I wanted some of the features of 2.1. I'm probably going to take it out when I next play, but when I next play, it'll probably be when the next version of Factorio comes out, 2.1. This just makes your cursor smarter. This is a train manager. This makes your science buildings cool. Recently, I've been thinking about what I would do if I lost my phone. It seems like restoring access to everything would be quite difficult. I also haven't found much good information on this topic. You know, I agree with you there, Ole. And yeah, 2FA is not 100% guaranteed. And at my work, we deal with a lot of hacking attempts. And being very, very careful is a thing. And losing your phone, I don't know. One thing that I do use is a password manager. And inside of that password manager, I'm able to store like my keys, right? So like on my Windows machine, there are special keys that will like look at your face and unlock things for you. I can store those in my password manager. I can store my GitHub keys, my Google keys, and stuff like that. I think that makes me a little bit safer from losing my phone. But to your point, if I lost my phone, everything contacts me on my phone. Everything you know, a lot of things will use like Bluetooth and use your phone for authentication. I don't know. That's something I should probably think about too. Um, yeah, the password manager often requires 2FA. That's very true too. A very good point, and you should turn on 2FA for everything. Um, it's much safer. Um, yeah, the rest of the loaders is another thing in my mods. I don't know what I would do, Ole, to be honest. Milestones gives you information when you reach certain things. This just cleans up the wires so I don't have to do it manually. This allows me to plan out mining patches so I don't have to do it manually. You'll find that I do a lot of quality of life stuff. The more roboports, I'll probably get rid of that one. More tooltips is very, very useful. Pump allows me to plan out pumping stuff. Yeah. Well, and Michael, password managers liking to autofill forms is often a little bit the design of the forms themselves, right? Um, and so there's a lot of stuff here to beautify things and stuff like that. But those are my mods. So let's get into it. But yeah, when you design your forms, you've got to be careful. Um, that's one thing. You can make a user's experience worse by designing your forms poorly. You'll see right away, these are the belt balancers. So stopping our password manager with forms would require ruining every control. Yeah, it really, it takes planning from the beginning, and if you don't do it from the beginning, it can be a mess. Um, this is my, so these things right here, for those of you who haven't played, are science labs. Basically, the point of Factorio is you generate these science, and they get fed into these labs, and these labs research this massive tech tree, right? And this isn't even the whole tech tree. This is just the tech tree necessary to get to this point. And you can see there's so much that I've already researched. All of this stuff in red, I can't even research yet. Everything in light yellow, I could research right now. Everything in orange, I can research in the future. And then this is the queue. So right now, this is easy to make. This is easy to make. Like these first are easy to make. This one you can't get until you go to space. I'll show you the space platform that generates this. This one you have to make on another planet, and it spoils, which adds a whole bunch of interesting stuff to it. But this is this accepts the inputs from rockets, and inside of it you can see I've got modules and science packs and things like that. I've got these loaders, and if I turn off Alt's in the game, when you hit Alt, it shows you like what things are filtered to and what they are. These are loaders, and you can use them instead of these inserters. They're just a mod that allows certain things to happen. So I've got these loaders that are filtered to only pull out a certain color of science, and then feed them through this massive balancer, and then each of these belts is controlled. So if I click on like this belt, you'll see that's not a good example. Like this belt says that if there are less than the amount that I want on my sushi belt, then stop it. Right now it's saying there's 73 red science on my sushi belt. It's probably too much. Probably need to get some of those off of there, but why does it say there's 73? That's interesting. I don't know. Then I've got this basically saying that I want 35 at most. Like if I were to change this to be 40, you'll see that immediately it's letting stuff out because I made it bigger. I've been tweaking this number, and that's why I have it parameterized. And this is where the programming stuff really comes into play, is I've got an input parameter here, and that input parameter is allowing me to control how much I put on the belt, so the belt doesn't oversaturate with stuff. I've got a decider here, and this decider is reading everything from this belt. And so it's got a count of everything on the belt. And it's then outputting that count. If the count... Why am I adding 0 to this? I don't think I meant to put an arithmetic. Oh, I know what happened. I was trying to do something clever, and it didn't work out. I've got some other stuff here. This is basically saying, hey, so you can grab different, you can set up these different logistics groups. So if we go here, you can see I've got all these different logistics groups. So this is everything coming from Volcanus, is that planet there. Everything that's produced there, I want it. Everything that's produced on Fulgora, I want it. I'm not exporting anything from Gleba yet, except for science. Then I'm feeding the logistics network from this. I'm feeding it into this combinator. And I'm saying for everything greater than 0, output it. So everything on my network that's greater than 0, output it. This one then says take everything and multiply it by -1 and output it. So you'll see here everything is negative. This one then, where's my addition? That multiplies. Oh, yeah. So then anything that's negative, so at that point, once I've multiplied by -1, anything that's negative, I want it to come in. So you'll see that I'm looking for calcite, I'm looking for low density structures, I'm looking for productivity. So there are certain things that I want. Yeah. Let me see, I've been missing some stuff. Yeah, Google may block access to your email and ask you to verify. Yeah, but you've lost your phone. That's a good point. Have you migrated to Signal Forms? I would refactor our new Breadwinner app out of last year. I hate reactive forms. I'm with you there, Michael. I hate reactive forms too. I hate more when people start adding disabled. Oh man, I hate that too. When I see when I see 20 this.control.disable, it really makes me sad. And that's one of the cool things about reactive forms, right? Is you can tell it when to disable stuff. The amount of imperative form stuff and subscribes needed are awful in reactive. I hate imperative forms too with a passion, and imperative code. What the heck is going on here? Why did I do this? So this is dumb. I don't even know why I did it. But this game allows you to copy and paste. And you can see my bots out there building stuff. What this does is it grabs anything out of here that I need it to grab. And I'm not sure why it's not grabbing these. So let's see what happens here. I don't know what's going on there. For whatever reason, it's not pulling. Oh, no, it did. It just hasn't moved it yet. So yeah. Oh yeah, recovery emails are a pain too because some of my recovery emails are set to my old Hotmail account that I very rarely log into. Um, we gave up on untyped form validators, so we just subscribe. Oh man. Oh man. Yeah, that would be a little bit painful. Um, anyway, I'll come back to that. So the core game loop in Factorio is basically growing the factory. This is the ship that I crash landed on. Um, and around here, there would be patches of resources. So like if you look out here, this is a patch of coal. It has 1.6 million coal in it. Basically, you build these miners on it, and then the miners take care of extracting the resources. You put them on belts, um, and then this is the warehouse stuff that I was talking about. So it allows me to store what's in there, 25,000 coal, and then I've set up a station here, so trains can come get my coal. We'll talk about train stations here in a second. This station. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. We're running out of copper. It's a good thing I just came back to this planet because we are running out of copper. So that is something we need to fix. Why are we so low on copper? One of the things with CyberSyn, we can take a look and see what our problems are. So right now, we're providing very low amounts of copper. We've got tons of iron. We've got very low amounts of copper plates. Our coal is fine. Iron plates are fine. Sulfur, plastic, rock, oil, and uranium, they're all fine. But we need 25,000 copper. We only have 4. So we've got a 22K deficit. So let's take a look at my copper patch. Oh. So part of the problem is my copper patch is too small now. So it's not producing enough copper. So we're going to go clean this up. But we need to find a new copper patch. It looks like this is a good one. So we'll probably bring this one in and try and meet up with the trains here. That's what I think we'll do. So to prepare for that, this is the blueprint book. I built a bunch of blueprints. This is my blueprint that puts bots and it basically builds bots and roboports. And bots and roboports are let's make sure I've got stuff there. There. So what that's going to do is I basically used my blueprints to put down, these are the roboports. These are what allow the little robots that you see flying around to access new areas. So you can see this one just put it down and now it can recharge. And I can get statistics about the roboports themselves. If you see in the right-hand side of the screen, I've got 1,000 logistics bots and 700 construction bots that are running around. And so as they put these roboports down, you'll see this green area and orange area. In the orange area, robots can move things around to the logistics network. In the green area, they can build new things. So you'll see that as we go out, and I've got my own bots on me, actually put them there. So I've got 50 bots on me. And you can see that I'm asking for 50 rare and just 50 regular bots. So as I'm moving around, my bots are going out and doing things. But they're not putting down roboports, and that's fine. I don't need them to put down roboports right now. Actually, I don't even really need them to do what they're doing, but I'm going to let them do it. It'll get power out here for me, which is what I'm looking for. These things right here are substations, and the blue area around the substations is where they'll provide power to, and then the wires are how far they can provide power. But if I run out of copper, we're in a bit of trouble. So this is the copper patch right here that we're going to try and get back. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab a deconstruction planner. That's this red thing right here. I can right click on it and I can just tell it, hey, we're only going to grab trees and rocks. Don't care about anything else. And then I can just get rid of all the trees in this area so that I can better see what I'm working with. So there's a big help right there. So now we can see this patch. You'll see I've got this mining planner thing. And with it, I can tell it how I want to lay out my mining planner. I've got it set to simple. We can set it up all sorts of different ways. I want this one. So we'll bring the train in here. So I think I want to extract I want all of my belts from this patch to go to the right. I'm going to use the big mining drills, just because they do a better job. I'm using red belts because I haven't produced any other belts. That's one of the things I wanted to do. I also have it set to use medium power poles. So instead of these big, instead of the big, and I'm drawing a blank right now, substations, it's going to use power poles. And these ones have the biggest one. I'm going to turn this off so it's just going to deconstruct anything underneath it. And then I just highlight the whole patch. And it's going to tell me that I'm going to get 90 per second. I'm going to get 90 copper per second with 3 belts. I'm going to line this up with this top belt here. And that's going to bring the rest in. So you can see it's set down my power poles. It's set down my drills in a pattern that's going to be really good. And now we can get, and I'm going to do it this way because there's less down here. So I'm going to tell it that I want the bottom one to be where I get things from first, which means I also want the bottom one to be where I get things from first here. And you know what? I don't need to do this, actually, as I think about it, because the way I build my train stations is I bring all of this stuff into one of these. So I'm going to get some loaders, and I'm just going to say, hey, 1, 2, 3. And we're just going to bring all of this into here. You'll see that it's complaining about power. So we're going to put a power pole there. That's not going to do anything until we get power, but that'll be enough. And so at this point, we need to decide where we're going to bring in the train. I wish drones in Satisfactory were all cool. I haven't played Satisfactory. Is Satisfactory pretty good? You legit cannot cross field without hacks and timing issues. That sucks. That actually really sucks. But you can see that my robots have have made it all the way out to here. And if we look on the map, we can see these are my bots coming in. Those ones lost power, so they're gonna go try and resupply on power. But this one has a power, like a substation on it, and things like that. So one thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go take a look at this copper patch over here first. And just see what's going on with it. And with the auto deconstruct, you can see my bots are going to go get rid of all of the stuff out there that's no longer on a patch of ore. And you can see we went from this massive patch to almost nothing. That's one of our big issues here. And that's one of the core loops in Factorio, is this notion of supplies running out and needing to find more supplies, or needing to find enough supplies to meet the demand of the factory itself. And this is a lot. Satisfactory's Peak, by the way, easier to play as an adult, as I feel like it is easier to get into when you have a bit of time without losing all context. But it similarly has no roof. Or I do want to take a look at Satisfactory. I think it looks very interesting. So yeah, that's on my list of things to do. But you can see this patch went from really impressive to really unimpressive. And if we take a look on the map, there's only 720K copper there. Here, there's 3.2 million. So we've been out exploring, and you can see that I'm missing some stuff. The other thing I want to do is I want to get trains. So I want to get all the stuff to build train stations. And then I want to make sure that I'm getting mining drills also. And one thing we should take a look at as we're doing this is we want to take a look at power. So we can see that right now my factory is drawing like 130-ish megawatts of power. And we can see my foundries are taking up a ton of power. I actually had to build a nuclear reactor to keep my foundries going. And you can see my solar panels are following this day-night cycle. So the solar panels run during the day, and then at night, my steam turbines kick in. I'm able to produce 413 megawatts of power, but I have, I'm only using a quarter of that right now. And you can see various things kicking in. My solar panels kicking in here. And we can see my accumulators aren't even discharging at this point. I've got so much power. We can see we'll be able to see this train get painted. You can see that the train stop itself is the color of the copper. Actually, we'd have to sit here for a while to see this. Actually, it's filling up pretty fast. There we go. So you see the train changed color, and the trail that it has behind it shows that it's bringing in copper. So let's go up here. And because I turned on this logistics thing, you can see this swarm of bots coming in. And they're trying to fill my inventory. So let's go take a look at a common Factorio thing. It's called a mall. I think some people call it a hub, others call it a mall, but the point of it is there's this giant group of factories, and their whole job is just to produce things that I need. So we can see here that, yeah, I'm never going to get lightning rods here. I'm on the wrong planet for it. But I've set up like these requests. So that's a bad example. So for like these power poles here, right? I said I want 150, but no more than 200 in my inventory. So if we look right now, I have exactly 150 because the bots brought them to me. And I've set up requests for all these different things. And that allows me to have things in my inventory that I want and remove things I don't want. Man, my copper is getting bad. This is not good. When your copper's low like this, you've got some problems. Copper is used to build all sorts of things, and we can follow this path. So here you can see we're using it to build green circuits and red circuits that are being turned into modules. I probably don't need modules on this planet anymore, but as we go further up the belt, we see the copper starts to get more and more sparse. So like this supplies all the green circuits to my entire factory, which means everything up here, like we're getting almost no green circuits. So my red circuit build here that is going into my science build, my purple science build is struggling. So let's fix that. And we're going to do that by putting in a station down in the bottom and bringing things in. So to do that, we want to bring the train in at the right place. So I'm going to use my book here. And in my book, I spent a whole bunch of time. That is the wrong one. This is the one I want. So inside of this book, I built a whole bunch of rails, elevated and on the ground. The elevated ones were truly tricky to get match up the on the ground. But these are all aligned to the, they're all aligned to the what they call the grid in Factorio. So like this right here is actually a perfect place to bring it in. So I'm just going to go along and put down these tracks using my book, and it's going to allow me to make it to the base itself. So this is as far as I want to run these tracks. So we're going to go back, and you can see my bots are going crazy because they're trying to keep up. And one of the things that's funny is you can lose your bots just based on stuff that's going on. But for right now, what I want to do is I want this track to meet with this track. So we are going to find where that happens. And it happens right there. So perfect. And we can see this signal right there. Started acting strangely. So we're going to grab that signal. We're going to move it back, and we can talk a little bit about what this signal is. This signal is what's called a chain signal. And so it forwards its whatever's going on to the next signal in the loop. So we can see here, this would forward onto this, and then this is a block signal. So as soon as it hits here, then we know it's either. So this will say, oh, you're red or green here, and then goes all the way back, right? We also want a block signal here. And the reason we want that is we're keeping these blocks small on intersections. So this blue is a block. This cyan is a block, right? This yellow is a block. And so you can see we've got crossing tracks here. So we don't want trains to crash into each other. So we're just signaling and telling trains how to behave. We need the train going out. So we've got an issue. We're going to take that out and try again. Come on. There we go. I'm holding down shift, and it's got an auto rail planner. And that can cause issues. So we're going to ask it to put this back. Actually, I don't care. I don't really care. So we've got a block here that's massive. You can see there's a whole bunch of stuff. We want to get rid of that. We want to turn it into a chain signal. And here we want a regular signal because we're done crossing blocks. Here, oh, I put it on the wrong one. We're going to leave it off then. We want another chain signal here. We want one here. And now you can see that we took this block and made it much smaller and simpler. One thing we want is we want a block signal here to keep this as small as possible. And while this is fairly complicated looking, what we know is that you get stopped before entering this intersection. You'll get stopped before entering this intersection. And we're chaining it. And the reason we're chaining it is we don't, like if you were to stop here, you would block traffic from going a bunch of different ways. We don't want you to stop unless you can move into this block down here, this cyan block. And so we're setting up our signals so that trains will keep moving, like, you know, if I'm coming this way and I want to go this way, but this is blocked, or I want to go this way, but this one's blocked, I can still go this way because of the way we've signaled. It's the same here. I can still get out this way, even if something's in this block here, keeping me out. So we've got all of our stuff set up here. So scarcity is not a thing in Satisfactory. Less little doodads to make, but still plenty, less combat emphasis. Beautiful handmade map. Power is actually fun to build because of 3D constraints. That sounds cool. I like the 3D. Still love Factorio. The guy who says no Angular today is still managing signals. And yes, signals and reactivity and modular building and functional. So when we look at this, we want to build a train station here. So we're going to start and we're going to put down enough to build a train station. Let's see if that's enough. So now we're going to bring in our trains and we need to decide how we're going to do it. I think what we're going to do is we're going to come up this way and come out this way. So let's grab our train stop here. And if I put my train stop on this side, you'll see that it's showing me that the trains are going to have to come in this way. So we're going to put it in on this side. And what I've got it set for is a 1-3 train. Is that right? 1-3. Let's go take a look really quick at my trains. My trains are all 1-4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. So when I'm talking 1-3 or 1-4, the first number is the number of engines. The second number is the number of cars. And you could have like a 1-4-1, which would be another engine on the back. Some people do a 2-4, stuff like that. We'll talk about this stacker here in a second. I want to take a look and on my, so 1, 1, 2, 3. Oh, you know why it's only 1, 2, 3? Because I haven't given it enough space to show a 1-4. So now if I grab my train, yeah, we can see that it's now a 1-4. So it's showing me how long of a station I need for this train. One thing I recommend is making sure to keep your stations, what do I want to say here? Like straight. The other thing I recommend is putting a block signal right after your station and a block signal right after the max length of your train. And that way it'll prevent trains from coming in here. And as soon as your train leaves the station, your station's open. The next thing that I do is I want to make sure I name this station properly. This station right now is named something weird. I think it's named after users. We're going to tell it that this is a copper pickup station. And that's how I name my copper pickup stations. And as soon as I do that, it sets the train limit for me and all of that based on other copper pickup stations, which is awesome. So the final thing to do is I want to get this back here. And I'm just using the auto router here to get back to where it is. And the other thing I want to do is right here is the end. We're going to take this off and we're going to go that way. And we're going to route it back here. Whoops. Which breaks that signal, but that's fine. We can just put it back. And then the other thing I like to do is go along and make sure that we've got space for trains. And that signal will be fine there. This signal can go here. And we'll put one there just for fun. Have you watched the video with Rainer and Decoded Front End where he asked AI to do some simple Angular app? He was using Fable, but quality was not that good. So if you don't know what you're doing, even Fable won't help you. You need to put Rails on your AI. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you just ask an AI to one-shot an app, it's not going to do a good job of it. And this is something that, that we look at a lot at work. What's the best way to put it? Like if you, oh, come on, there was a place there where it got both, right? No, okay. We're gonna go there, we're gonna go there. Oh, does that not reach? Fine. So if you try to one-shot an app, think about it like, I spent a lot of time doing like image generation. And with image generation, you know what, I'm going to turn off my logistics for right now. I don't want these bots flying across the screen to try and bring me stuff. So they're going to do their currently queued tasks, but that's it. In image generation, if you try to one-shot an image, you're going to get the classic multiple hands, right? Weird faces, weird eyes. If instead, we're going to move that pole. If instead of trying to one-shot an image generation, you give it constraints and then ask it to build based on those constraints, then you're going to get a much better. Uh-oh. I was like, what the heck? What's going on here? I should have realized there wasn't stuff in there. It's the same with apps. When you try to one-shot an app, there's a whole bunch of stuff that's very, very difficult for the LLM to reason about. So you want to make sure that when you're building your apps, you give your agents simple tasks and then put them in a loop. And when you do that, you'll find that your agents become much easier to work with. So yeah, that's my recommendation there. And that's what I do currently now is I like to have specialized agents that do one thing well, and then those specialized agents, as they're doing that one thing well, can turn around and they can make good decisions. So what are we talking about? We're talking about like say you have an agent that's really, really good at CSS, right? Have that agent do your CSS stuff for you, but don't try to design an entire application and expect the CSS to be good and all of that stuff. Instead, iterate on it, right? So one shot, and then use your skills and your agents to refine what's been done. And I find that to be the best way to go about it. The other thing we have to recognize is that modern agents are really good at React. They're not so good at they're not so good at what do we want to say? They're not so good at like Angular. That's what I'm trying to say. They don't have quite the same training, right? So I'm taking a red wire from this that's going to tell me how much is here. I'm going to put the red wire into this train controller. You'll see that immediately it tells us that, hey, there's 12,000 copper available here. And we've immediately had a train dispatched to come pick up 8,000 copper. And we can see the train right here. This train is coming in immediately to pick up this 12,000 copper. And this is the benefit of CyberSyn. You can do this in Factorio with... got these set the wrong way too. You can do this in Factorio with interrupts, but I haven't taken the time to learn them that well. So I typically just use something like CyberSyn or LTN or something like that. We can see why I like this. With this warehouse, I can stockpile more than the train can hold. So this warehouse holds 13K. This train is only looking for 8K. So it's pulling out 4 full lanes, even though we're not getting full lanes here. And this is kind of, to go back to what you guys were talking about with like signals and observables and stuff, right? This signal being sent here to the dispatcher told the dispatcher, hey, I need a train, right? The train dispatcher reacted by sending the appropriately sized train. It also set up a request specifically for 8,000 copper ore. And now we can see that the train is on its way. And it's told it, if we look at this, it's told this train, or actually we've got another train inbound immediately for more copper ore, which is awesome. But if we take a look at the train itself, it sent it over here to unload at the copper. So it's immediately going in to unload on the copper. And you can see this warehouse has no copper. So we're good that it's bringing in copper, and it's going to use these smelting stacks to create, it's going to create full belts of copper. We can see that we're getting full in and full out, which is what we want to see. Right now it's all red belts into here and yellow belts out. Is this game related to Angular or is it just for fun? Keikansami, this is just for fun. It's not an Angular game. This game is probably the best game for programmers, in my opinion. I love it because it scratches that programmer need for me. But yeah, we're doing it for fun. It's not for anything other than that. Um, we can see this train takes off, and I don't even know where it's going. But we can see that that one's coming in with copper. So just by hooking that up with this, with the setup that we've got in place, we're getting trains dispatched to pick up copper. Do we have more trains down here? No. So if we take a look, we can now see that our only deficit is in copper plates. We're supplying the network with more copper than it needs, which is perfect. So we've been able to catch up on the copper need. However, I don't think we're done here because I'm not happy with my copper smelting. And we can do better. So we're going to do better. And to do that, we're gonna... Oh, I'm so glad I've got that armor. I almost got killed by a train. I don't even know where that train's headed. But we can see here that like our copper smelting is... I mean, we're getting a full belt, but it relies on coal. It relies on a whole bunch of things. And this is what I'm talking about with like solar panels everywhere. So like this is all solar panels. 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 All of this stuff is solar panels, right? Before I get too far away. The way CyberSyn sets up is you add this special symbol here, and that tells it that it's able to control this depot. So all of these trains are just sitting here waiting. And you'll see that the only order they have is to go to the depot, or they've got an interrupt that will take them up here. And this is what I mean by peaceful. These biter nests won't do anything. So up here, I'm refueling trains with rocket fuel. Interesting. I'm not sure why I've got those tied to that. Yeah. You can see this warehouse has no copper. British thief casing the place. By the way, there is title on the stream saying starting. Oh. I can't believe I didn't notice that. Thank you for that, Keikansami. And no chat. Thank you guys. Kindly name this game. This game is called Factorio. And it's all about building factories and making sure factories work. The nice thing about CyberSyn is it'll tell me when a train is stuck. It's saying this train is stuck. This train isn't actually stuck. It's just taking a long time to load. I gave you guys a preview of what we're going to be doing here. But look at these giant smelting columns. They take copper. They're a bit of a mess. I want to change these. And what I want to do is on Vulcanus, this planet over here, you get access to these foundries. And these foundries give us the ability to produce a ton of plates and everything by turning it into molten ore and then casting it, right? We're going to do the same with our copper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab all of this here. And we're going to come down here to our copper smelters. And how do I want to do this? We're going to replace from. So if we take a look at this, and I'm going to flip this, right? We can see this fits within this blueprint somewhat. So it will actually tile fairly well, but we've got to get it set up. So we're going to go right here, and you can see that we're outputting on this belt. And actually, we don't want that. We're going to just take this, and we're going to say, we're going to cut off the copper there. Where's my guy? Dang, we're a long ways away. We're clear up here. How do we get clear up here? I don't even remember running up there, but okay. So we cut off that belt. The next thing we want to do is basically we're just going to continue this belt through, and we're going to split this stuff off. And holding down shift, we can get rid of these like skips. Actually, I want those, but we'll take a look at that later. So we can see that we're all out of copper here. So I'm just going to use a deconstruction planer. And we're going to take out all of this stuff here. We're going to take out all of this stuff here. What I don't want to get rid of is this belt, because I'm going to use the belt to help line things up. And so you can see my bots are kind of going crazy right now. I also turned off my personal logistics. Do I have smelters requested? I do have foundries requested. So this thing can build in 4 foundries or 8 foundries. So we're going to flip this around. And we're going to get rid of a bunch of stuff here. And now we're going to put this in, rotate it. And if you guys can see the blue, I can't move my mouse, but the blue is lining up with the belt where I took it off. So I'm just going to put that down. And you'll see that everything built, we've got problems. This is trying to make, it's trying to make iron. We want it to make copper. So we're going to tell it to make copper by melting copper ore. The next thing we need to do is come down here, and we need to cast copper plates. So we're going to cast copper plates. And then I'm just going to copy this and paste it down. So now we've got everything set up to cast copper plates. The nice thing about this is that it takes electricity, but not coal. So our coal consumption will go way down. So the next thing I want to do is I want to see how much this is going to produce. So we're going to produce 19.4 copper plates per minute, per second. We're only going to use 7.41 copper ore per second. and a little bit of calcite, but we're going to use 26 megawatts of electricity to do it. And we need 120 molten copper. Is that going to work? So this one is producing 81 per second. This one is producing 80, that's 160. So we're producing, this one is consuming 20. So we could actually put 2 more on here, but I don't want to do that quite yet. So we're going to take this and we're going to bring it down like this. And then we're going to route it this way. And I don't have yellow belts on me, so I got to wait for them to come build it. But as soon as they do that, we'll see that this belt will fill up immediately. And based on the rate calculator, this is using 7.41 copper plates, right? Or copper ore. We can see that right here. We're using 7.41 copper ore per second. If we take a look at like this smelting column here, which generates less, right? It generates exactly 15 per second. We're using 15 copper per second also, which means this generates the same amount, but uses half as much. What's going on here? We're not getting... So we're not getting molten copper here. $81 per second. 81 per second. Why are these? Oh, my inputs are backwards. That's what was happening. Yeah, how does it help with my programming? There's a bunch of ways. One of the ways that it helped is when we're looking at this, when this was backwards, right? These lights turned red. One of the things that this game teaches is good troubleshooting, right? Another thing that it teaches is thinking modularly, right? So if we take a look at this block right here, the one, right? If we take a look at this block, the way I envision this block as a programmer is this block is a function. What does this function output? This function outputs 19.4 copper plates per second, right? It also outputs 1.19 pollution per second, which if we compare it to like this block, they're similar in pollution, but they're using a lot less copper, right? So we're using half the copper here, which is good. We have our inputs, right? We've got electricity, copper plate, and calcite. We've got our outputs, 120. Well, we're overproducing 120 molten ore per second, which we can fix. But this is a function. So when I need more copper plates, I think in terms of something like this. And when I'm looking to optimize my copper plates, right, this is the old version of the function that outputs copper plates. This is the new version. What are the trade-offs, right? Well, this one uses less copper, but the amount of electricity we're using now has gone way up. And we can see that we're using, 62 megawatts on foundries, which is a crazy amount of power that we're using on our factories, which is why we've got solar panels all across the planet. But we've also got, where did I build it? This is the nuclear reactor that's providing the power for this. And there are other things here that we can take a look at. So if we take a look at this inserter is looking at the temperature of the reactor. So the nuclear reactors in this game work is you feed them with fuel. The fuel is then used to raise the temperature of the reactor. The reactor then spreads heat to these heat exchangers. As long as the heat is above 500 degrees, so we're getting water in here, these output steam, or no, we're getting steam out here, but we're getting water in here, and then it's wrapping around this way. So it's converting water into steam. And this steam, we then have to figure out what to do with it. Well, this block here, if we take a look at it, this block produces 1.24 K of steam, right? So if we take a look at one of these consumes, we're not consuming anything right now, but it consumes 60 steam per second. So that basically means that this needs 21 steam turbines to consume the steam that it outputs. So we've created 21 steam. And this is what we're doing is we're thinking about things like this, where we're feeding fuel to make sure that the temperature is appropriate, which is turning into heat, which we're turning into steam, which we're turning into power. And that's why it matters. You know what? I'm going to get rid of these biters. So the weapon I've got right now is the Tesla gun. The Tesla gun is made on Fulgora. It's one of the researches on Fulgora. And that's allowing us to be able to kill these. Man, this is way too slow. I need a different weapon. This gun's good at killing biters, not good at killing nests. What I want to see is how many more foundries I have. So, got 10 foundries. And there's 15 in storage. That means I've got 25 foundries. That means I can create 3 more of these. So let's do that. Let's take this and we're going to cut off the coal there. We're going to cut off the copper there. And while this works, right, we're going to let all of this work through our factory. We want all the plates to come out. So these top ones have stopped producing. We're going to take all of this out down to where they're not putting anything on the belt again. We're going to take all of this out. It looks like a lot of times there'll be like 100 plates stored in these things. It looks like we don't have that issue. The other thing we can do now is, actually we could have done this before, but we can get rid of this belt and this belt, and we can take this all the way down to here. So now we can take this and copy it. And we're just going to line it up right here. And we're going to paste this down. And now there we go. And then we can rotate that so it gets rid of the copper. It's on that belt. We can cut that one off until it's done. But now we've got Now we've got another full smelter of copper as soon as these plates come in, that isn't using coal. Come on, there we go. So there we go. And now we've got everything coming in, and we should see this producing a full belt of copper. I don't have any of those on me. But now if we take a look at our power draw is not that bad yet. But it'll kick up, right, to now we're at 70 megawatts. And this is why I built the nuclear reactor. Modular structured IO, literally attacked by bugs. Yep, literally attacked by bugs is a thing. You know what? I'll finish this up here in a bit. One of the things I can do is just let's just add this and finish smelter for copper. So there we go. Let's take a look around at this planet before we leave. So this is my copper smelting array. I don't know why I'm not getting these. So we're gonna cheat. We're just gonna go red belts there, which is not the right thing to do. But one thing we can do is we can take this, and I can say, hey, I want to go from a red belt to a yellow belt. Great. So it works right now, but it's not what we want. And so we can take this upgrade planner and we can just say, hey, do that. So we've got something working. The way the game is optimized, and this is an interesting thing to think about, is when you've got a fully compressed belt like this, it doesn't have to calculate stuff on the belt. As soon as we get into a situation where we're seeing here, if I hit Alt to turn that off, no, where things are moving faster, now it's got to calculate how fast things are coming in and how fast things are going off, right? So we want a fully compressed belt here. But by doing this, right, these cut our needs in half. So this is 50% of what we were using before. And this is a quarter of what we were using before. So we've gone from, we've got a 25% improvement in resource consumption just by going to this new smelting array. So that's another thing, right? You spend a lot of time thinking about optimizations, how you can optimize stuff. You think about things in throughput, right? Like a train arriving is an event. What do we do when a train arrives? How do we keep trains arriving, right? So we've got these trains, and this smelting array is completely, oh, look at that. Got all of this copper right here. I've also got this station that doesn't need copper anymore. It is completely full of coal. But I could repurpose this station to be copper. And that's kind of the theme that you'll see with Factorio. Is, I'm going to do that. It'll be good to have more copper available to the network. So we're going to bring this stuff down here and over. But to do that, we're going to use our planner. And this time around, we're going to hold shift while we do it because I want to be careful not to delete stuff. So we've got this. We want this. We want this. We want this. We want this. Right? And if I'm not careful, we do want it to come out that way. Is it enter? What is it? Finalize it with left click. There we go. So what I'm looking at over here is I don't want it to remove any of my power. We're also going to rotate this down, and we're going to line it up right here. Yeah. So let's go build that really quick, and then we'll get into what I was talking about before, and then we'll also go take a look at some of the other planets and some of the challenges that they introduce. Okay. So we're going to jump this across. This is one of my absolute favorite features. Let's see if I take this. Oh, hey, look. We're going to go there. We're going to go there. And I've got this other tool. Where is it? This one. So I want 3 belts. Let's place them on the right side. That's fine. So now if I take this and I run it down here, it should, oh. Okay, so it's in the direction that the belt goes. That was almost bad. Let's try again. This time left side. We're gonna run it down to there. Now we're gonna build it, and there we go. So just little quality of life features like that make this an interesting, make the mods interesting. We're gonna bring these in, and we're gonna bring power to it. And this is part of the other thing, right? It's like the logistics of doing this is an important piece to understand. Why am I not getting anything here? Because I don't have any of the miners. That's fine. Perfectly fine. Eventually they'll be there, and we're going to go this way, that way. And then we're going to build. So that's going to bring it in. Instead of jumping this, we're going to see. Add, it's going to force me to jump it. There we go. So now we've got another one filling up with, it's filling up with copper. So we've got 4 outputs here. We're gonna change this up just a little bit. So this can come this way and up. This can come this way. No. What the heck did I just do? There we go. Oh, that's what. Those go in there. And this one is going to go here. And I can actually bring this one here. And the next thing we can do is we can just jump this across. Whoops. So those are going to jump across there. And now we can just bring these out. So there, there, and there. And this one's going to have to be a little bit spaghetti-ish. Which is a term for used in Factorio. In Factorio, we do love our spaghetti. But you can see this is now going out. Now I can get loaders here, here, and here, and here. This is telling this station that it's providing coal. We don't want that anymore. So we're going to tell it, or it's requesting coal. We don't care. In fact, we're going to take this and we're going to, we're going to pull that off of there. And instead, we're going to pull from here. And so now you can see, it sees that we've got 4K copper. We're going to change this station. We're going to call this station copper pickup, which sets all of our train limits and everything. So this is now a copper station. So the other thing we can do is we can set this to outbound only. And it automatically knows, hey, we've got 4.6 copper available to pick up here. And as we get more of these drills, it's going to have more and more stuff. So we were able to get a station put together remarkably easy, and take advantage of this copper right here. If we look up here, I basically ran rails up and out to here for more iron. Up here, we've got our pump jacks for oil, and our train that picks up crude oil, and it can also pick up stone. This is the cool thing about this, is this station knows it provides both oil and stone, and it also knows that it needs a train. It may be hard to see, but it needs tanker cars or box cars, and it will request the appropriate one for the inputs. And this is our stone miner up here. Our nuclear here, all of our solar here. We This is all science production up here. This is what's producing all of our solar. You can see that we've got some rare solar panels here. This is something we're going to take a look at here shortly. And then, you know, science production. This used to be where the old mall was. Here's another thing programming wise, right? This radar can transmit anything anywhere. I've got a RoboPort here that's hooked up here. What I've set up is I've got everything I ever want to build in the space. So this is telling me how many of everything I want in this specific base. This is then hooked into here. Nope, it's not. It's hooked into here. And all of that is multiplied by -1. We then come here and we add the green signal to the red signal. The red signal is how much of everything I have. The green signal is, the red signal is how much of everything I want. The green signal is how much of everything I have multiplied by -1. And then it outputs what I need to build. So you can see I need to build rail supports. I need to build storage tanks, crushers. Like there's a bunch of stuff that I need to build based on this. And the way that works is if we come over here, like to the mall, you'll see like these chests. These chests are enabled when this is greater than 0. And all of these are disabled because we're not building anything. Like for example, we've overproduced 4 thrusters. So we don't need that. More power over here. This is my green circuit production. You can see that by fixing the copper, green circuits picked way up. This is my plastic and sulfur production. This is producing solid fuel from everything that I've got left over. This is going down here. We're burning solid fuel to make steel, but we're also using solid fuel to make rocket fuel that we're using to launch rockets and run our trains. It's the copper we just hooked up. This is where we're enriching our uranium to be able to make nuclear fuel, uranium ammo, just stuff like that. And this is where we're mining all the uranium from. We're taking copper and sulfur here to produce sulfuric acid. Sulfuric acid is used to mine uranium. We can also see that we don't need that anymore. Up here, this is oil. We're producing plastic here. So the more plastic and sulfur is being produced here. And this is all the refineries needed to turn the crude oil that we're mining here into the necessary ingredients to make all of our sulfur and our plastic. And that's my Nauvis base. Nauvis is the planet that you start on. The only other thing to look at here is our rockets. And this is something I want to make better. But you launch rockets to get into space. And so before we were talking about space science, right? This is a platform that's in orbit around Nauvis. And this platform produces the stuff necessary to make the science, right? We need ice, we need iron plates, and we need carbon. And this can only be made in space. You can't make it on the ground. So if you were to send this stuff to the ground, you can't make it. So there's a bunch of stuff here, but the base idea is these things are all wired and they've got their filters set. and their filters are set by us reading this belt out here. You'll find that I like my sushi belts. That's what the Factorio term is here. So we read this belt and we say that I'm saying that I want 35 of each of these items on here. And we can see that we've got one too many of the metallic and one too many of the carbonic. And so we don't need any of these, right? The outputs are negative. So we don't need any. So these are all shut off and not grabbing anything. If I were to say change this one to like, I don't know, 40, you'll see that they immediately turn on. These grabbers immediately turn on. And if something flies, like if that chunk were to fly within range, but we can see that they're filtered to only grab metallic. I'm trying, there we go. You can see these arms fly out and grab these metallic chunks. We're going to set this back to 35 because that's all we've ever needed. But this is the kind of programming and logic that you'll do is you'll also see that we've got logic here that's reading the belt, the entire belt. And this is set, where is it? This inserter is set to only output when ice is less than 20. We've got 25 ice on the belt. That's greater than 20, so this inserter won't output. This one's the same if it's less than 10 iron plates, right? So we're trying to keep 20 ice, 10 iron plates, and here we're trying to keep 10 carbon. And so by controlling the output to this belt, you'll see that these require a certain amount, but they're full because this is full, because the ground isn't using space science fast enough. So, you know, this is all working as expected. You know, we're using solar panels to provide all the power up here. It's, you know, just, it works. We can see right here, we've got a ship in transport. And one of the cool things about, like, as it's moving between planets, is it's got to protect itself. So this ship, because it flies around and it's encountering bigger asteroids, like these smaller asteroids here, you'll see that they hit the ship and don't do anything. If these bigger ones hit, they'll damage your ship. So this ship is flying to Gleba. It's got a bunch of stuff on it. So it's got all these different things that we want at the different planets. You'll see that we're coming up on Gleba. We're, you know, 12,000 kilometers into our trip. Pretty soon, I think Gleba's 15,000 kilometers from Fulgora. So pretty soon we'll reach that. But there's a lot going on with this ship because we're producing our ammunition on the ship. So the ship is grabbing steel. That scared me. That sound scared me. That was the ship launching a whole bunch of stuff down to the planet Gleba. So we can see if we go over here, where is, we can see all of those rockets coming in. And all of that stuff. So calcite came in, a ton of calcite, and a ton of low density structures came in. And we can see my bots are just going crazy, you know, emptying all of this out as we empty out the rocket silo as it brings stuff in from the ship. This ship is coming from Vulcanus, which we'll take a look at some planets here in a bit. But all of my ships have the same design. They've got 4 furnaces that are making iron plates that are feeding this, this ammunition factory. The ammunition factory is then feeding ammunition here, which gets put on the belt. And if we zoom in, you can see the ammunition on the outer side of the belt. We've got similar things set up. Excuse me. so that these are all filtered. They're not, when the light on top is red, so this one turned green, we want some more metal. So they're filtering for metal. One of the things to be aware of is you can see out here, the asteroids are bigger. So you'll see that this asteroid's coming in from the side. It's got to defend itself when it's not in Nauvis orbit. So these guns are still necessary. There's a whole bunch of logic going on here, to control, the filters. So we can see that we just turned on filters. We're looking for ice and metal. And the reason we need ice is that we need to produce oxidizer, which is used to power the engines. And we need the actual fuel to power the engines. And that's made, from all these different machines that are breaking things down. This basically takes and crushes the ice. This melts the ice and turns it into water, which is used in both of these. And then this takes in metal and water to make the oxidizer. And so this is crushing metal. This takes in the carbon and water to make the fuel. One of the things you'll notice, and so each of the planets has different solar activity. Most of the time, these accumulators have energy in them. And this ship actually has all rare and uncommon solar panels. So it's got pretty good solar panels, but we're still operating at low power mode because we're just not getting enough solar power to the ship. There's this green light right here. And this green light will turn on when the ship is ready to launch. And one of the things we can take a look at is I've set up these commands, right? So if we take a look at the planets that I know about, right, there's two planets. There's a solar system edge, and then there's the shattered planet out here. This is like the end game. The last planet I don't know about is Aquila. And that's the frozen planet. We were looking at Gleba here, and we can see that Gleba is 15,000 kilometers from Fulgora. Nauvis just happens to be 15. I think everything's 15,000 kilometers inside. So everything's 15,000 kilometers. We can also see these little marks here show that there's stuff in orbit. So there are 3 ships in orbit of Gleba. There's the Nauvis, Vulcanus, and Fulgora export. Fulgora has the Gleba export in orbit of it. But if we go back to the ship we were looking at, this green light tells it when it can launch. So I've got a couple of things set up. So when they're in orbit, we want to give, and we can see down here on Gleba, because it's not, it goes basically, if we take a look at the map, the way I've got it set up is Vulcanus to Nauvis to Fulgora to Gleba to Vulcanus. And so all of them are flying the same route, and they're delivering stuff from their respective planets, and they're bringing stuff back. So if we go back to our export here, we can see that everyone, when they reach a planet, we want to make sure all requests are satisfied. So we can see here, all requests have been satisfied to Gleba, meaning that everything that Gleba wants from the ship, it's received. The other thing that I've got is if you're in orbit for 5 minutes, then you're ready to go. But the last thing is this green circuit condition. And this green circuit condition is what allows us to determine if the ship is ready to go, right? And these are our logistics groups. So we're requesting cliff explosives. These are the foundries. These are the big mining drills. Calcite is used. It's only found on Vulcanus. It's used everywhere in foundries. I'm building a ton of bots there, so I'm exporting bots, rocket fuel, low density structures, assemblers, and roboports. And I'm also putting the science. The one thing I want to do is build a ship that is literally going to be, it's going to be a science ship. So anyway, to get into more programming stuff, right, I've got a couple of things here. One of the things that's interesting is I've got this clock. And so if you take a combinator like this, we can look at this on the ground. So let's just go here and let's just grab a combinator, right? We're going to give it power, and we're going to say, hey, you just output 1. And you're going to output 1. I used clock, so we'll use clock here too, right? You're going to output 1 clock. Not very interesting, right? But what if we take a wire and we wire the output to the input, and we output the count? Oops, that's not what I want. I want clock here. And we're going to say if clock is less than, I don't know, there's 60 ticks per second. So we can see that we're getting a 1 here. So we're getting 1 in and 1 out. What am I doing wrong? I always have to reason my way through this. Okay, so I need 1 outputting a 1 also. I forgot that. So this one outputs a 1. This one outputs the count of the clock. And now you can see that my clock is counting to 60 and then resetting, which is a useful thing to do because, say I take a light here. Do I have a light? I don't have a light on me. And let's make this light, we'll make the light purple. Great. So that light is now purple, and now I can take from my clock and I can attach it. And with this logic, I can say, hey, enable if my clock signal is, well, let's say less than 50, right? And so now we've got a light that blinks off and on, right? It's on more than it's off. I can make it blink, you know, half a second on, half a second off, right? Or I can take it and I could take it and go, hey, you know, we only want it on for 1/6 of a second. So we get a quick pulse like this, right? And that's the cool thing about clocks like this. If we go back to our ship, we can see this clock is only counting to 10. And then it's wired to these pumps. And these pumps are set to only be turned on when the clock is less than 1, or less than or equal to 1, right? So they're only on for 1/10 of the time. Why am I doing this? Well, I don't have a whole lot of rocket fuel. And because I don't have a whole lot of rocket fuel, and I want to control the speed also so that I'm not flying into asteroids at full speed, right? So this helps me control the speed by only pulsing these pumps 10% of the time. I'm only feeding the engines 10% of the time, so I don't get as much speed. This is the green circuit condition, right? The green circuit condition says, hey, we need at least 20K fuel, which are both right. But we also need 500 ammo. We've only got 387 ammo right now. So this ship will stay in orbit until we've made 500 ammo. And that's, that's the green circuit condition here. As soon as all of those conditions are met, this will output a green, and then, it will leave orbit. The thing that's tough about it is when it's in orbit of the other planets, it has to protect itself. All the other ships are built the same way. So you'll see the Nauvis export here, exact same design. The only thing that's different is the logistics, what it brings. It's bringing chests and circuits, and I don't know why we're bringing modules anymore. We really don't need modules. Or rocket fuel, or we can bring all that. It doesn't matter. One thing to be aware of is I've set only to unload on the planets where we don't load. So this one comes from Nauvis. We never unload at Nauvis, but we unload it everywhere else. If we look at Gleba, Gleba only does science. One thing that's interesting about Gleba science, we can see it here, it's spoiling. So it's spoiling in orbit of Gleba. So we have there's 2,600 on the ship. What are we waiting for? We're waiting for a green circuit condition. And our green circuit condition is we need to make 3,000 more fuel. Once it does that, it'll leave. But my science is spoiling. That sucks. Fulgora, same thing, right? We're going to end here soon, but I want to show you guys the different planets. So Nauvis is the planet that we were on. And this is the planet that you'll start on. It's the easiest of the planets. The next planet that I went to was Vulcanus. And Vulcanus has a couple of different things. One of the things that I'm disappointed about is because I'm on peaceful, I didn't get the Demolisher worms. So the next time I play, I'm not playing peaceful because I want the Demolisher worms. On Vulcanus, you get these large drills and you get the foundries. So the Demolisher worms are one thing that's an issue here, and we're not getting power there. That's the cool thing about Space Age is that from the map I can build anything. A bot comes and we're dumping stone into the lava. And so you can see it there. It's burning as we dump it. We're dumping 10 at a time into the lava. But the cool thing about Vulcanus is everything runs off of lava. So we've got these pumps to fill these pipes with lava. And then the lava comes in and feeds these big forges and foundries. And we use those for everything. The other interesting thing here, this stuff here is tungsten. It can only be mined with these large mining drills. And then that's coming out on this weird mess that I made because I'm avoiding. You can't jump over the lava, which makes sense. You can't run underground under a lava, a lava field. So I had to make this weird jump. But this is all coming in and it's feeding my tungsten carbide and my this is tungsten carbide, this is my tungsten steel. And that's what's used to make the science. That's what's used to make the big drills. That's what's used to make the foundries that I have somewhere in here. The other thing, and this one bit me pretty hard, is I didn't have enough of this calcite. And the way you make power on this planet is you mix sulfuric acid and calcite. That's not a big deal because sulfuric acid, where is my sulfuric acid? Right here. Sulfuric acid on this planet is just available in these sulfuric acid places. So you just pump it. So it's really, really easy to get this set up. But if you ever lose this calcite, then your power goes. And my entire base, you'll notice, if we go back to Nauvis, you'll notice the majority of my base on Nauvis uses belts, right? Belts run everything. This is good when there's no power, right? It takes up a lot more space, but if I were to run out of power, these belts would still have stuff on it. When we go back to Volcanus, you'll notice I do have some belts. So like I've got belts here with my coal mining. But you know, this really just feeds into the stuff that's making, what am I making here? Is this plastic? Yeah, this feeds into my plastic build here. So I'm producing my plastic here. This basically, so there's no way to get oil on this planet, right? Because volcanic planet, I don't know. So what you do is you take coal and you run it through this coal liquefaction. So it takes coal, calcite, and sulfuric acid, and that produces the heavy oil that we use. The heavy oil then comes down here and we bring it into these and we turn it into light oil. The light oil gets then turned into the what is this called? Petroleum gas. So this gets turned into petroleum gas, and then with some more coal and petroleum gas, we produce plastic. So that's how you produce plastic on this planet. And I think I've got another big setup for that here. Yeah. So this one uses a much more advanced recipe. It uses steam and heavy oil and coal to turn coal into oil. So this one requires oil to get started. And that's why up here you can see I'm running a little bit of oil into some barrels because if this one ever runs out, I can get it started by bringing in the barrels here and feeding that into this, and it will get started. And that's the only thing it needs. All of this gets run over here, and I'm using, oh, this is what I'm using to produce my rocket fuel. So I'm turning everything into light oil, and then I've got a little bit for petroleum gas. That's all producing the solid fuel that I feed into the rocket fuel factories, and then we export the rocket fuel. This is my circuit build here, my power. These are my rockets, and yeah, that's basically Volcanus. Volcanus's big thing is the worms, which I ruined for myself by going peaceful in a test world and then allowing that test world to go further. But the next time I play, I'll be dealing with the Demolisher worms. They're like basically the Shai Halub from from Dune. You know, the big worms. So that is Volcanus. From Volcanus, I moved to Fulgora, and Fulgora is, there are no enemies on Fulgora. So this is where I started on Fulgora. And actually, looks like I need to clean this up. The whole point of Fulgora is you have, like, it's just a ruined world. So there's ruins everywhere, but then there's this scrap. So there's like scrap everywhere. There's like 26 million scrap here, you know, And scrap is what drives your entire economy. There's 23 million scrap here. Um, so you're dealing with recycling scrap, and so you get these recyclers, and the recyclers allow you to recycle scrap into a bunch of different things. This is my mall, and the other thing about Fulgora is at night there's tons and tons of lightning storms. Um, so you maybe saw some lightning there, but basically what happens is that and you can see here, we get these power spikes. So we got, 334 megawatts that we captured here. You know, Basically the lightning strikes just produce a ton of energy. We aren't really consuming a lot of energy here. I need to fix up this planet. So what you do is you create all these accumulators that grab all of the energy, and so we've got 3 gigajoules of energy stored in rare accumulators and 19 in regular. And so as the lightning strikes, we store up these gigajoules, and you can see the potential right now is gigawatts of power. We're dealing with it looks like it's 100 gigawatts of power, like just a ridiculous amount of power, because you put all of these lightning collectors around, and you can see the lightning collectors protect your infrastructure, and so you'll see I've got lightning collectors everywhere protecting everything. So that's how you get power here. It's another unique. It's just a unique thing about Fulgora is the lightning storms. The other thing is the ocean here is made of oil. So oil is not a problem. You can see right here in this pump, we're pulling heavy oil straight out, which means I can create lubricant really, really easily here, which means I can create electric oil. I can create electric motors. I can create all sorts of stuff. The other unique thing here is holmium. And holmium is used in a whole bunch of things, but I need to clean this island up and figure out what I'm going to do here. I'm probably going to create rare circuits here, rare something here. But you'll see that there's rockets launching to resupply the ship in orbit. So you can see the Fulgora export is in orbit. And it's asking for blue circuits, and that's it. Everything else its demand was met. Now everything is met. You can see all requests are filled. So now it's just going to wait until green circuit condition, right? So this is a rocket silos. This is my science production here. So we're producing all of these science packs that we're then exporting everywhere else. And we're producing accumulators, we're producing superchargers and just stuff like that. It's also very, very easy to produce yellow science here, so I'm exporting yellow science from here too. It's much more difficult to do it on other planets. The reason that it's so much easier is the scrap mechanic. We'll get down into that there. Here, what are we producing? Holmium solution. This is all science stuff here. This is my rocket fuel production here. But then we can take a look at like scrap here. So we ran out of scrap on this island. And you can see the lightning going crazy. So we're bringing in scrap with trains. So we've got 2 stations that are out here mining scrap. And the interesting thing is that you can't really bring the power across here. So we've got our own accumulator bank here to run all the drills that are bringing in the scrap. And same over here, all the drills that are bringing in the scrap. They get put on a train, I'm not using Cybersyn here. These trains just run to their station, fill up, and then come back here and unload. And we've got all of this scrap. So when we've got a ton of scrap, what do we do with it? Sushi belts. This is from Avadi, his strategy. But basically what we're doing is we're feeding all of this in, and we've got all of these recyclers. And these recyclers take the scrap. And if we take a look at this scrap, so the scrap that you get here, you've got a 20% chance to get an iron gear wheel, 7% chance to get solid fuel, which means rocket fuel is ridiculously easy to make here because you get scrap, you get solid fuel for free. The oil is made, or the ocean's made out of oil. You can turn that oil into light oil and make rocket fuel. You get concrete from recycling. You get ice, steel, batteries, stone, right? Circuits. So like all your circuits are easy to come across, and then 1% chance for holmium, and that's the key piece of the science here. So we feed all of this into these recyclers. And then we create this massive sushi belt structure. So this sushi belt, you can see all the different things coming off, the gears, the concrete, right? All of that. And then we're pulling off here, we're just pulling off the holmium, or we're using it to create holmium solution and holmium plate. And then it keeps going on, and we're grabbing green circuits here. So as this recycles through, red circuits and blue circuits turn into green circuits. We need a lot of green circuits, so we pull them off here. Red circuits, blue circuits, we're pulling off steel, we're pulling off copper, and then the sushi belt comes back around, and here we're making low density structures. To make that, we need copper, plastic, and steel. Well, great. We just pull that off the belt, feed it into our low density structure things, and do I not have a low density structure? I don't. That's easy to solve. We're going to pull a low density structures off the belt. So we're going to put this in place. We're going to tell it that we want to filter for low density structures. And then the other thing we want to put in place is the unloader that holds it. So we're going to match that up with that. Why won't that work? Crap. Great. That won't work there. So instead, we're going to put it here. We'll put it right here. Low density structures. I wondered why it was so hard to get low density structures here. I didn't have low density structures. Why not look? Low density structures. Boom. And then here we want that. And oh, that's batteries. You know what? I don't care. We're going to put it down. We're going to say that's filtered to low density structures. Great. And we're just going to take that one out, and we're just going to do that. There we go. So these are now filtered down to low density structures. I wondered why I was having such a hard time getting low density structures. But that's the point of the sushi belt, right? Is it allows you to pull stuff off, and I'm doing some crazy stuff here. So down here we're grabbing plastic. Here we're grabbing gears, and we're recycling them. And the other thing is we got these productivity modules, and productivity modules give us a chance to get quality stuff. So we're outputting quality stuff here that we're then recycling to get better accumulators. So we're running through this process of creating normal accumulators to create, you know, uncommon accumulators to create rare accumulators that we're using to replace everything with. We're doing the same upcycling here with solar panels. So you can see we've got a bunch of rare solar panels here. Other than that, again, we're pulling stuff off here to make different things. Am I getting low density structures off of here? I'm not. Well, that's dumb. More low density structures. And more low density structure storage. That should help with my rockets. I was struggling so much to get rockets going here. One thing we can do, the whole point of the sushi belt is it feeds back into recyclers again, and then the recyclers take these, so like these red ones will become the green circuits and stuff like that. But we feed these back in, and then we feed it back into the sushi belt with priority going here. So this never jams up. It's just constantly a constant flow of junk going back in and being turned into other stuff. So here we're pulling off water and we're pulling off solid fuel, and we're using that to make rocket fuel. So this is where we're making rocket fuel also, just as a way to get rid of some of the extra solid fuel. And then if it makes it here, we're just feeding it into two recyclers back and forth. You get 8%. What is it? I think it's like 1/8 of what you put into it. So these feed back and forth, and basically it just deletes everything. Up here, concrete takes a long time to recycle, but it takes a lot less time to recycle it if we turn it into the hazard concrete. So I'm pulling the concrete off, taking it here, turning it into hazard concrete, and then it takes less time to recycle here, but it still gives back the same amount of concrete. Same thing here with steel. If we turn steel into steel boxes and recycle those, we get the same amount of steel back, but it takes less time to recycle a steel box than it does to recycle a bar of steel for some reason. So yeah, that's Fulgora basically. Is like there's these sushi belts, and you've got to be getting what you need off of them. You create productions from the scrap that you get, and then that scrap basically drives the entire operation. The next thing I want to do here is step up production to produce basically better quality modules. So if we take a look up here, we're producing modules. We take a look at this module, we'll see that this module is made from the level 1 module. So these little blue diamonds out here. So at a normal level 1 module, you get a +4. If it goes to uncommon, it's +5, +6 at rare, and out to +10 at legendary, right? If we go and we take a look at here, it's +6. So if we produce rare level 1, worth the same as if we produced just a normal one of these, right? And so, am I using agents.md? Oh, agents, not agents. Yes, I do use agents.md to help stuff. So the next thing I want to do is step up to rare quality things, because a level 3 is expensive, um, but a rare level 2. Oh, this is the wrong one. We want to look at these. So like a level 3 is 2.5%. A rare level 2 is 3.2%. A rare level 1. So if we produce rare level 2s, which are really, really easy, it's just rare level 1s plus rare circuits, we get 3.2%, which is better than the 2.5% here. And this is expensive because we require superconductors and stuff. No, you don't need both Claude and agents. You only need Claude if you're using Claude itself. Some harnesses will understand Claude, but I don't really use Claude that often. And then the final planet is Gleba. Gleba is a weird planet. It's basically the biological planet. So nothing here uses electricity outside of the stuff I bring from other places. To produce electricity, we burn stuff. So you'll see, again, we're using a heating tower to produce steam. Same basic principle as the nuclear power plant. You'll see we've got forges here to make things easier. What else? You don't really mine here. The big resource, well, there are two big resources. They're the eggs of the enemies. So you basically farm the eggs of the enemies. And if they spoil, they hatch and turn into enemies. So you'll see I've got like these big turrets here to protect us from that. And that's what's used to produce the science. But everything here spoils. So everything is built on spoilage, but you use these nutrients, and these nutrients are what run these biochambers. And these biochambers produce everything you need, and you produce nutrients to in turn run everything, and spoilage basically runs it all. But you get fruit from these farms that you create. And these farms, you grow the fruit, you bring them in, you process the fruit, and that turns into everything. So there's Yamako and Jelly Nut, and these both get turned into all sorts of stuff. Down here, we're producing steel to run the factory, and to produce, you don't really get iron here. So to produce iron, you use bacteria, and this bacteria, when it dies, it produces iron. So you can see there's spoilage in here and iron. So these things run on nutrients and bioflux, which is made from other stuff. And this just basically keeps the iron running, and then these two keep each other running, which we then turn into steel. Same thing with copper. The bacteria decomposes into copper. So we just keep that running. Here we're producing rocket fuel. Oh, that's a mess. I do not have spoilage handled here. We're going to filter this to only spoilage. And we're going to put spoilage in a chest. That's a big problem. Luckily. So yeah, this stuff would spoil. And it's going to keep spoiling. Well, that's a mess. What if... What if we filter spoilage? That's the way we want it to go. And we do that. And we do that. There we go. So now it's going to stop because, man, we've got so much rocket fuel in them. Wait. We're gonna. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's basically free here because it's all farmed. So yeah, that's the big issue, and we just saw it here. Is that I've got this spoilage. I'm really curious. What if we do the sushi belt thing again? Um, so basically what I'm doing is, and let's put the output priority here. So basically I'm feeding two sides of the belt. And I'm running it in a circle. And the other thing we can do here is we can say, hey, you are filtered to spoilage on the right side. And then we can grab another one, and this way we get a lot less spoilage on the belt and things are able to output because we're moving everything back into why are you not moving? It's a weird setup, and this is called side loading. We're doing half the belt here. But basically, we're trying to allow these machines to produce more rocket fuel as needed. And we're trying to remove spoilage from the belts. So we can see that as things go in here, we're slowly removing spoilage, and eventually it should be all gone. But me clogging this up is my own fault. So having to clean it up is, basically on me. But that's the big challenge here is the spoilage. And basically you just burn it. That's all we're doing here. We got this requester that's requesting a bunch of stuff. And then we've got these things that are reading what's requested and setting filters on the inserter. So we're only inserting rocket fuel if we don't have anything else. So you can see we've got a whole bunch of stuff in this chest. Rocket fuel is turned off. This says that if everything is less than 0 or less than or equal to 0, then we allow rocket fuel. So it's just kind of the last resort that we burn on this planet. And power is pretty easy to come by because everything's fairly cheap. But yeah. So what rules do you add in the agents.md? It really depends on what I'm trying to accomplish. So I have like some repos that I use for architectural documents. My agents.md for that is much different than my agents.md for non-architectural documents, right? When you're doing architecture and architectural diagrams and architectural documents, you don't have to be as strict, right? Like sometimes in my agents.md, I don't know. It really does depend. There are all sorts of things that I like to put in there. I like to put reasoning. I like to put sometimes I like to put the agent, like the models that are allowed to be used by the agents. Sometimes I'll put in like contextual rules that I always want. So like maybe if I'm doing like some special CSS, I might say, hey, you're using the CSS library. Don't perform any Git actions like stage and unstage because that's a good one. Don't perform any Git actions unless it's explicitly instructed. Another one that I find myself adding quite regularly is don't how do we want to put it? Don't don't delete tests. That's a big one, right? Because and I've lost context of my changes exactly. I've had, I mean, people joke about it, but I have had LLMs decide that, when I was like, hey, fix these tests, the tests are the problem, right? According to the LLM, not the human, not trying to diagnose them. So, kind of like the old iRobot thing, it just removes all of the tests, and suddenly you're like, wait, what happened? And right, because you can't have any failing tests, so the easiest way to get rid of the easiest way to not have failing tests is to get rid of all the tests that fail. So that is one thing that I will put in there. Yeah, I like to put things in there, like keep the human in the loop. Make sure that um, anytime you're modifying files or deleting or moving files, that you ask the human, the user, for permission to do so. Some models are better than others at following that. Um, so, take it with a grain of salt. But yeah, that's another useful one. Um, Double check Angular skills. That's a useful one. Yeah. It was adding change detection on push. Uh, and yeah, like one of the things to recognize when we're talking about um, agents and LLMs and things like that is they are they're very good at recognizing patterns in your code base. They're not so good at following instructions that might be new, especially as the context window grows, right? Um, so one of the reasons why you might be seeing on push change detection is your code base has it, right? And so as it's going through and it's like, hey, let's take a look at our code base. It's going, oh, yeah, we need to add change detection on push because it's everywhere, right? And that's another good use of agent.skills for coding, is you can say, hey, don't add on push change detection. We don't need it in this code base anymore. That's a very good use of agent.skills also. So there's a lot of good use cases for it. But it really does depend on what you're producing and what your desired outcome is. And as always, my biggest suggestion is to keep the human in the loop, right? Why are you full? Oh, another mistake. So I had a whole bunch of spoilage in here because it all spoiled, and then it couldn't bring stuff in to power it back up. So I wasn't producing the lubricant that I needed to make the robots. This base is really, really small. It uses almost no belts, but if we take a look, it's using 854 logistic bots, and not a single one of them is free right now. It's only using 72 construction bots. And the way I control that is I have this chest here. And the chest is always requesting bots. And then here, there's a filter. And I'm saying 5K and 5. So what we can take a look at here is this is less than 5. Wait. Oh, now they're all no longer busy because they cleaned all that out. But basically, I'm setting a filter. So if there are less than 5,000 logistics bots in the network, and I've got 866, and if there are fewer than 5 of them free, then we say, hey, put 5 bots in here. And so we set the filter on this, and that allows it to put bots into the network. And the nice thing about that is I don't really have to control too much about my system. So we've only got 72 construction bots because at its peak, the most it ever needed was 72. We're slowly closing in on 1,000 logistics bots because sometimes this network will just clog up and we're gonna have to clean it out. And I'm using logistics bots to do all of that. I'm directly inserting science into here. But yeah, don't fire devs, just keep them in the loop. Exactly. 100% Ola on that one. Never, like, don't fire your devs. Help your devs. I'm not saying never fire them. I'm avoiding saying never do anything, right? But one of the things to be careful of is why is there iron here? What is, oh, that makes sense. If the bacteria dies in here, I need to get iron out. That's why there's iron in here. But yeah, if as you're working with your devs, like when I talk to my colleagues, what is the desired outcome of of where we are? What should be the desired state? What's the absolute best that we could get? And as we think about that, the best thing for us, just in general, is we want to be able to have our developers they need to be able to upskill themselves. And what do I mean by that? Well, when we look at we what a modern developer should do, a modern developer should definitely know their stuff, right? They should know their framework, they should know their code, they should know all of that stuff. They should also know how to build like a bot army, is a way to put it. So when I think about like what do I think would be the most productive engineer or dev, it's a person who's spent the time to create small little bot armies that keep the human in the loop. And I can move away from all the bots so it's not so noisy. But yeah, the human in the loop is a big deal. And if you're taking the time to build those armies of little bots, you're going to be so much further ahead of everyone else, right? You're going to be in a much better position to how do I want to put it? You're going to be in a much better position um, to handle what's coming, is maybe a good way to put it. Um, you you're prepared for the reality of just what is modern development, and how does that affect us, right? Um, oh, interesting. Wait, what? So we're just not outputting plates, so that's stuck. That's interesting. I don't have a deficit anywhere. In fact, I'm now providing 108 copper versus what we had before. Um, but yeah, your biggest goal as a developer is, and especially in the modern AI um, world, is to be able to um, explain to your bosses or whoever why you're valuable. And one place where you can be valuable is in being able to do a lot of work and do a lot of work reliably. One of the biggest issues that a lot of AI code produces is slop, right? If you've curated a library of bots that produces Angular code cleanly that doesn't have slop, you're ahead of a lot of people. And that's where the human in the loop is important, right? Maybe at some point the human in the loop may not be as important, but we're not there yet. Um, we're still fairly far from there, and so until that's actually the case, um, keep the human in the loop, right? Make sure that um, make sure that you are upskilling yourself so that you are that human in the loop. Um, because if you aren't the human in the loop, somebody else will be for you, right? Um, and that's a bit of the reality of where we are as humans. But that's always been the case. That's not even AI, right? Like that's just always been the case that if you're not willing to do something, somebody else will. Um, and so in that case, where somebody else is willing to do something you're not willing to do, uh, you need to figure out is that um, is that something that you should be doing, or is you being replaced, is that going to cause significant issues for you, right? Like it may not be a big deal. Um, for example, like maybe mowing the lawn's not a big deal to you and you don't want to do it. Somebody else is willing to do it, right? And you can hire those people to do it for you. Um, the people who are willing to do it. Um, where where it becomes an issue, right, is in your professional career. Um, there's always going to be somebody um, who's going to be willing to do what you're not. Um, so, if you're not willing to, um, if you're not willing to become a better developer, somebody will, right? And it's not, um, it can happen fairly quickly. Um, and you'll see that, especially as your career matures. I've seen it happen over and over again. And so I've always been careful to watch who's being replaced and by who and when. Um, am I not producing yellow belts? I do have yellow belts. Oh, you want to know what the problem is here? Why this hasn't been replaced? Yep, that's the problem. Uh, oh, that is the problem. Um, so make sure you know you're doing what you need to do to protect you and your work and your family. Um, and as you do that, um, it will help you in the long run. Um, yeah, it's just it's always it's always good to recognize when things are changing. Um, is I guess what I'm trying to say. And right now, things are being very, very disrupted. And when things are as disrupted as they are right now, you need to be careful and make sure that that you are um, you're protecting yourself, right? Um, and you're protecting your family. Um, always, always, always keep your eye on yourself and your family, and then um, make sure. I don't know. That's my best piece of advice. Just always make sure that you're protecting yourself and your family. Um, and as you do that, you'll be you'll be much more willing to take on the the stuff that we're talking about, right? Like um, the agents stuff and things like that. Um, but yeah, that's important. And man, did we go long today? Holy cow! I've got to get ready. We're like I said earlier, my oldest is headed off to college. We're gonna go to a family party here in a bit to just for her aunts and uncles to see her for the last little bit before she moves away. Um, thank you all for indulging me as we explored some Factorio. I'm going to go ahead and end the stream here. Next week, I do want to get into ATUI. So I think I'm going to do a little bit less agent stuff. I want to get the dinosaur stuff ready for ATUI and WebMCP. And from there, we'll start looking at what that means specifically for Angular. So yeah, thank you guys for showing up. Thank you guys for hanging out with me. And we'll see you all next time.